Bless all the way up. It's your boy, Change Agent Cooper. Make sure you like this channel, subscribe to this channel, and click the bell for notifications so you can be alerted when the content is coming out. I got a lot to say, and I'm going to say it. I got a lot of experience, strength, and hope, and I'm going to share it. For me not to, that would be blasphemy. Community health worker talk, CHW talk. Let's get to it. One thing I will say is community health workers, we boots on the ground, and we're close to the people. We're able to identify root causes. You dig what I'm saying? A lot of times we already know a lot of the root causes, but I'm doing this video because one revelation that has me excited, and not like on I told you so basis, but more like, this is confirmation. Is that there's community health workers that have been dispersed in Buncombe County. So community health workers was already doing their thing in Buncombe. Shout out to ABIPA, you know what I'm saying, the OG community health workers, you feel me? But when the pandemic hit, we started to have more people understand what community health workers could do, because that was the folks that they called on to address a pandemic response and access to resources and healthcare and all the other things. And so as we got the vaccination out and it got smoothed out and this, that, and the third, people say, wow, this community health worker can be used in more ways than one. People start researching and saying that community health workers have been used in other areas in ways that was addressing, like reentry, violence prevention, things like that. And so, boom, fast forward a little bit. The CHWs model comes to Buncombe County, the CPrV model, the community public health response to violence. I think that's what it is. But CPrV model, I'm looking forward to taking that class. Shout out to Abdullah Chasm, Sokoto House Quality of Life Blueprint. Abdullah is one of my mentors. Shout out to him. But what happens is the community health workers get dispersed into Buncombe County to do this violence prevention work. And one of the things that's happening is they're consistently doing community engagement. They're having events. Shout out to Whitley for the event she put on in Maple Crest the other day. It's a lot of shootings going on out there, and it's some community members out there that are very, very much passionate about violence prevention and community healing. And she had a great event out there this week. Shout out to Whitley English. But I also want to say that as people been engaged in all communities, what they're starting to find out is a lot of people need support with workforce development. They need career services and they need workforce development services. And what I'm finding out as well, and this is what happens when you put community health workers out there, they're able to identify where the gaps in services were. The other thing is we start seeing like the lack of awareness about workforce development resources, not just by the community, but by the community leaders, by the service providers. There's a lot of resources in not even just in this area, but in this area, is what I'm speaking on. Let's talk about Buncombe County specifically. We have workforce development resources. We have NC Works, WIOA. You have scholarships, different things going on at the community college that can pay for short-term job trainings, and people don't even know about it. People don't even know about it. And with that being said, these community health workers are coming on board, and I'm educating them about it, and I'm connecting them with folks to educate them the full details and how to access this resource, because I would say 100% of the, pardon me, the allergies acting up, 100% of the community health workers referrals that they've gotten about workforce development qualified for these workforce development resources that they didn't know about. You see? And so I'm doing this video just to let you know, like, wherever you're at, when you look at innovating to address poverty, you look at innovating to address violence prevention, you look at innovating to address reentry, veterans, whatever it is that you're doing, when you're using your community health workers, make sure that there are boots on the ground. Don't have them caged up in no daggone cubicles. Don't have them caged up in no offices. You have to let them hit the streets. You see, you got to let them hit the streets to see what's missing in the community, because community responds whenever they see you in community. You know what I'm saying? What they got to be, they say proximity is the answer. Per Brian Stevenson. Remember when he came to Asheville and packed out the UNCA, the Coliseum? But anyway, so is it a Coliseum or a gym? Well, whatever it's called, he packed it out. Brian Stevenson, just mercy. And so what I'm saying is you got to get proximate to be able to get to the people to see what it is that they need. Because the people will tell you what they need when you get proximate. But they ain't just going to trust just anybody. That's why I say community health workers are needed. And by definition, a community health worker is a person that's from a community or uniquely connected in the community that serves as a link, liaison, or intermediary between resources and community. And one of the qualifiers of a successful community health worker is that T word, trust. You feel me? That don't mean time out. Trust. You know what I'm saying? You have to have trust to be able to have the genuine connection to the community. And you have to have genuineness is a requirement for trust. You know what I'm saying? Because people can smell fake stuff. You see what I'm saying? They can smell fake. They already in the jungle. You heard? They already trying to survive in the jungle. And they see fake stuff and they can smell it. So don't go in there. Don't go in the community faking a funk, because they know what's up. I'm from the hood. Like, we could tell the people who was coming in, who was genuinely trying to help versus people who was just going through the motions for ulterior motives. You dig what I'm saying? And so when you do it, you got to make sure you have that trust. And what I'm noticing now consistently from the community health workers that's engaged in community is that most of the focus, I ain't even gonna lie, y'all, like outside of like, you know, when somebody gets shot or whatever, if they have connections, they're showing up in the community when somebody gets shot to be able to provide resources and support the next steps or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But outside of that, their engagement in the community is basically leading to people needing education and training resources. What does that tell you, my people? What does that tell you about community? What does that tell you about solutions? If we have violence prevention community health workers that just got hired to do community engagement and violence prevention, you see me, and what they're following, what they're following is a trend of people that need workforce development resources. So that's what I'm saying. Need the daggone investment, reparations. That's what the reparations need to be at. Workforce development. That's what you will consistently see where the gaps in services are. That's why we need an urban league, because we need an urban league so we can have that social justice lens on a workforce development driven organization that has different pillars, but all point back to healing the marginalized community. That's what we need. And if we get an urban league, we need to get a couple of community health workers. That part. Because we see what we're seeing right now. You feel me? We see what we're seeing right now. Workforce development is that important. Workforce development is very, very important. I've been beating that drum for a minute now. Doom. Ever since I was working at AB Tech. Doom. Every time I find out about a resource. Doom. I'm trying to let the people know. Doom. Like, look, you don't got to get no 4-year degree. You can get this right here, this short-term job training. I just had somebody on my caseload get this credential, and then they started making more money than me, and I was their case manager. Doom. But who gets the message to the community? The CHWs. And so I wanted to do this video to let y'all know that in early stages with the CPrV model and those community health workers as violence prevention professionals, shout out to Knowledge. You know what I'm saying? That's one of my proteges I've been rocking with since before it even landed. And I was telling them about, ask him. He'll tell you our story. It started over a meal at Earth Fair. And he tried to get me to eat some tempeh and some tofu. He always trying to get somebody to eat tofu. But we was talking about this years ago before it started, like the role that the CHW plays and how it can reveal what community needs, those root causes, you dig. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we do at CHWs. And the end goal is health equity. But you can't have health equity without addressing those social determinants of health. And workforce development is a determinant because it aligns with what? Economic stability. Y'all bless up, man. My name Change Agent Cooper. I'm not the answer, but I'm for daggone sure the alternative. Now let me get back to work. It's Serious Saturday.